And we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so hi everyone. So my name is Felicia Antoro, and I am the project coordinator at Cleveland Water Alliance. I have been most people's point of contact for all things Erie Hack related. So you've probably heard from me in Event Tornado or through email or whatever, and I'll continue to be your point of contact. So feel free to ask me any questions, DM me on the event chat on Event Tornado. You can also email me at foentoro@cleveland.org. But yeah, so before I provide a rundown of Hack Nights, I just want to provide a reminder that Erie Hack is a program of Cleveland Water Alliance, a water technology innovation cluster based in Northeast Ohio. And our vision for Erie Hack is to bring together teams of creatives, coders, engineers, and water experts to create tech solutions to Lake Erie's biggest challenges. So I'm glad that all of y'all are here to discuss some of Lake Erie's challenges. And so we couldn't do any of this without our partners and our supporters. And so really thank you to, and our partners, TechTown Detroit, Midstory, University of Buffalo, will also be hosting Hack Nights over the next few weeks. But we really couldn't do Erie Hack or any of this without them. So just wanted to mention them here. So anyways, I will provide a rundown of Hack Nights in a second, but first I just want to provide a few reminders and an overview of the Erie Hack schedule, along with just general Erie Hack things. And so right now, this is where we're at. We're at hacking time. And as I mentioned, our partners, we will also have Hack Nights hosted by all of our partners, the Blackstone, LaunchPad, University of Buffalo, which is on Thursday, this upcoming Thursday. So be sure to sign up for that as well. And then the Hack Night hosted by TechTown Detroit will be next Tuesday at 6 p.m. And then Midstories will be next Thursday at 6 p.m. And so each Hack Night will have a different set of mentors because they're hosted by our different partners, but they're still open to everybody. We just wanted to provide programming where everyone had the opportunity to hear from different mentors because they represent different perspectives on Lake Erie's most pressing problems. So just a few other reminders. Our mentors tab is open as of today. It has been released and one-on-one mentorship signups are open. And mentors with availability this week includes Mark App, who will be here today on today's panel, as well as Dr. Scott Hardy and Bobby Oliver. Their bios and their emails and their contact information and their one-on-one signups are open. We'll be using Calendly to coordinate that. So check that out. And then just a few other team formation tips. If you haven't introduced yourself in the event chat, please do so. It'll help people know who you are, and it'll help people find you if they're looking for a specific expertise. And if you meet someone interesting, whether it's here or if you read something really interesting in the event chat on Event Tornado, remember that you can send a direct message in the event chat and or on Zoom as well. So just a few reminders there. Okay, and so remember that the team formation deadline is on October 15th at 11:59 p.m. And we have a little tutorial that was part of the Erie Hack kickoff. And it has been updated on Event Tornado. So if you're trying to figure out how to form a team, how to post an idea on Event Tornado, check that out. You can also ask me any questions. And then our quarterfinals are next month. Detroit's is on October 19th. Cleveland's will be on October 21st. Buffalo's is on October 26th, and Toledo's is on October 28th. And remember that teams are allowed to consist of members from across the region. So that means that when we put teams in quarterfinals, it'll be based on, first of all, your availability, of course, as well as the makeup of your team. So if you have someone from all four, we're going to, if you have a team with members from all four, we will be putting you in any of the quarterfinals based on how saturated each quarterfinal is. So that's that. And then finally, just remember to save the dates. Semifinals is on November 4th and finals will be on November 18th. And of course, prizes. First place will get $30,000 and second place will get $15,000, as well as support services, entrepreneurial support services. And this doesn't include mini challenges, which please watch out for because we'll be releasing them as we get them over time over the next few weeks. So next, I just wanted to provide a quick rundown of how Hack Nights are going to work. And so Hack Nights will start with a moderated panel discussion with mentors, and we will start with mentor introduction in a moment. It'll last until about 6:30, 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how much we want to hear from them in a more general setting. And then after that, we'll take a quick 5 to 10 minute break because Zoom can be very tiring. And then part 2 will be small breakout rooms. If you didn't get your questions answered in the first part, we'll have the second part to get some of those questions answered. And so room 3 and 4, I will open breakout rooms, and room 3 and 4 will be where our mentors are. We'll also have additional rooms where you can network with other people that are in this Hack Night today. So there's that opportunity, and I will be in the main room to answer any general questions, and we'll be floating around as needed. So before we start with the moderated panel discussion, are there any questions around just the process of Hack Nights? And the panel will be me asking questions, and you will get to ask questions in the small group breakout rooms. So any questions? And leave any questions in the chat, and I will monitor them as I go. Okay, so if there are no other questions, we will go ahead and start with our panel introductions. So if Mark could introduce himself and provide like a short bio, please.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm Mark Gapp. I started my career as an analytical chemist, taught chemistry in high school, managed a water quality laboratory. But the past, most of it, I've been working in computers and been an architect on major systems, performance architect, data architect, and a product manager for different types of technical software. My interest is obviously, the great thing about this hack is in 2019, I kind of we got involved in it, and I realized it was an opportunity to apply what I've learned in the last part of my career regarding computer architecture and data architecture to the problems associated with the Great Lakes data. And one of the big problems I think there is, and I'm most interested in mentoring, is software-related problems, but problems related to making data accessible. So we have companies, or we have projects that start up. We spend millions of dollars gathering data, and then we put it in one website where you got it on one map. And what I'm trying to do is open accessibility to everyone. And as part of my hack in 2019, we started the Great Lakes Data Watershed, which is a place where we gather data from USGS, NOAA, many other sources, many other instrument vendors, Hi-Fi recently, and we can make all that data accessible extremely easily for people to incorporate it into a solution. So as far as mentoring, I think I can support you in some areas of analytical chemistry, general environment, but not to the level of a specialist in that, and definitely in software architecture and software approaches.
And are you covering all three of our challenge statements?
If there's if there's mentoring related to a specific, if it's an expertise here I can help, I will help. I'm probably going to limit my commitment as far as mentoring number of teams and that kind of thing. And I'd be specifically, we are introducing a challenge regarding trying to visualize data that's out there. So finding a group that would be interested in trying to really maximize the value of data that's already available. There's a lot of data available, and we could mentor them on the approaches to getting that data accessible and making it part of their solution.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Dr. Whiting, if you would like to introduce yourself as well.
Hello to everybody. Glad you've joined us here this evening. Yeah, my name is Peter Whiting. I am a professor at Case Western Reserve University in the Department of Earth, Environmental, and Planetary Sciences. I guess for the purposes of tonight's conversation, I'm a water scientist. I seek to understand how water flows across landscapes and into lakes. I'm interested in issues of water quality, water quantity, and I'm also keenly interested in how things like climate change, land use change, or other technological innovations can help us better monitor, measure, and ultimately address problems of the environment. So, my focus ultimately will be, and probably where my strength would be as a potential mentor and advisor, is really on the environmental issues that are associated with various ideas that may be generated. I've published extensively on the fluxes of nutrients that have come out of tributaries from land into Lake Erie. I've also looked at how changes in land use and climate have affected the record, and started to think about how future warming, future land use changes could in fact introduce yet larger changes in in water quality, water quantity, and create space for new innovative ways to address the challenges that are created ultimately, so we have a better environment that we all live in, and we take and are better stewards to the waterscape that's around us.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And is this your first time mentoring Erie Hack?
I have played various roles with the Erie Hack and its different iterations.
Cool. Okay, so based on y'all's very different experience, what are some of the issues that you've seen specifically in Lake Erie from a Cleveland perspective? And you all are from Cleveland, so.
There are so many issues that one could look at. I mean, in some sense, that's part of the joy of the Erie Hack is addressing the myriad issues. We have everything from water quality issues, water quantity issues. We have Lake Erie is basically a transportation corridor, so the harbor ends up being a transportation corridor. How do we dredge and remove the materials and use that material effectively? We have lots of fluxes of debris, chemistry, pollutants, nutrients that come from both agricultural areas as well as urban areas into the lake. We don't know as much as we'd like. We'd love to have data from everywhere and have it all the time. So how can we have instrumentation that provides us key information? Good data, you often develop better models, and then you have a stronger basis for acting on that. So those would be just a few of the things that come immediately to mind.
Yeah, I think, all those those types of problems about the lake are definitely out there and a concern to me. And as someone that recreates on the lake and on the Rocky River here, it's really important to me personally. I think my biggest frustration and why I entered the hack originally, again, as I'm kind of repeating myself, is even though we can use a lot more data, the data we're getting and we're spending a lot of money on getting is not made very accessible. And I think trying to create that data accessibility, if we take the example of the phosphate problem, we have phosphate monitoring on the Monami River in various sources, but USGS does it. And we have things that are detecting harmful algae bloom in the lake. And I think there's a good hack there. There's really some opportunity there, because I know that it has been frustrating with constant monitoring to really detect whether there's a bloom situation. If you take the Cleveland Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, they monitor the Edgewater Beach, and the various metrics that they try to monitor continuously are kind of challenging to really make a prediction of whether they need to close the beach. Anyway, that aside, to me, the problem is that we waste a lot of data, and we certainly need more sensors. We need more stuff out there, but we're not even making good use of what we have. And that's my biggest gripe.
Both of y'all have mentioned data a lot. And so, what about some other aspects or technologies outside of data itself, do you think would be helpful for Lake Erie? Maybe like devices or other.
Well, I think on the one end, and this is something that people talked about, is conserving water. So, for example, and this came up in our discussion of mini challenges, is that when some people, if there's a flood event, our sewers, we get sewage going potentially into Lake Erie. And if people knew when a flooding event was occurring and they just didn't run that load of laundry, they didn't all run that load of laundry, it might reduce the impact of that. And so kind of smart home monitoring with water usage is an interesting thing. I think there's all kinds of opportunities. If you think about the sensors that work well in the lake, very few work very reliably or very robustly, automated sensors. And any kind of reduction in sensor cost and reliability and not having to have it be maintained that much, that would all be huge. But those are pretty serious research issues. But those are, I think there's a lot of opportunity in sensors, and I know, a big issue is lead sensing for home use too.
Low cost, so that you can deploy lots of sensors. I mean, if you want to manage a landscape from the standpoint of whether it ends up being lead in urban pipes that are old, or you're looking at small subwatersheds operated potentially downstream of an individual farmer's field, if you had the sensor that would allow you to say, where is the bulk of that phosphorus coming from? Where's the bulk of that nitrogen and nitrate coming? Because you have a way of reasonably at cost sensing and being able to respond to that, you'd be in a position to tailor approaches to where you're going to get the most benefit. Maybe there's a particular farmer, for whatever reasons, practices are problematic, or the land that happens to be on has a great deal of runoff, not because of necessarily bad practices, but if we could tailor our efforts to reduction to the places that are producing the largest amounts of pollutants or nutrients, or which pipes are in the worst shape, those would be incredibly helpful in helping us address the problem and doing it at cost. So we just want to be smarter. We want a smart lake, we want smart cities, we want smart systems, but you can only often do smart when you can do at reasonable cost.
Yeah, one thing I'd add as a caution is in my past experience as an analytical chemist with some electrochemical experience, it's extraordinarily hard to build a sensor that will not foul in the kind of environment we have in the lake, and that will be low cost and reliable. And if you look at companies like Yellow Springs and stuff, they go crazy trying to come up with something, and they still fall short. I mean, they still have a lot of fouling problems. I'm not trying to discourage you, because if that's the golden ticket. If you can come up with a reliable, robust sensor that doesn't need cleaning every day, that measures something important to people, that would be huge.
I think that would be a winning idea. Hint, 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 hint. But wow, that was a lot of really great information. Just a lot of great sources of inspiration for technologies and just ideating, hopefully from y'all's perspective. And so you mentioned smart lakes and smart cities and like sensors, and is there like also a need to centralize all these like incredible technologies that are coming? Like, I feel like there's so much innovation and development happening, but like it's so isolated. Like there's this startup doing this, there's this company doing this, and so like in the process of like creating smart lakes and smart cities, like what innovation is needed to like connect all those silos?
Well, I'm going to do a plug for gldw.org, because I think we're doing it. I think we've come up with a data structure and an approach to managing time series data, or data that comes from remote sensors, that is enormously scalable and flexible and easy to use. So, that is a big challenge, and we don't solve every problem, obviously. But I think the biggest concern I have is that when we go off and do a project, we don't think about how we're going to centralize that data and how we're going to make it readily accessible. And that's what I've been thinking about for 5 years. But so I think that's incredibly important.
And speaking of data, where are some good places to start with like data sets and data sources?
I'll do again a plug for GLDW. You can get stuff from USGS, from NOAA, from NDBC. I have connectivity to Onset and HoboLink and various types of sensors, and we pull that in. We can pull that into GLDW, but getting data access to those kind of things is sometimes complex and sometimes not so complex. But we're trying to do that kind of a clearinghouse of that, getting access to data.
Okay, and then just one last question. So what technologies are y'all excited to see come out of this Erie Hack?
Helpful technologies. I mean, I don't want to presuppose I know what's going to come out of it. I'm excited for new ideas. So magical technologies, let's describe it that way. That's what we want.
Couldn't have said it better. Okay, and since we still have some time, what are some other like resources that folks should look into to learn more about some of the issues around Lake Erie, and like where to start with like solution development besides, y'all as mentors?
Well,
Well, I think there is a lot of material out there, and if you go at some of the past texts and look at what kind of things were done, that's a place to start. Even though things change a lot, or are changing, there's still some, harmful algae bloom has been around, is a problem for quite a while, and excessive nutrient runoff. So I don't, other than kind of going out there and looking, looking around, and I don't have any specific suggestions on other sources.
I think you basically the challenges facing us as a city, the opportunities that face the city, literature searches, look, to various efforts that have gone into protecting Lake Erie, either federal legislation or state initiatives. Those will all give you ideas of sort of the challenges that are viewed as important. But remember, Erie Hack is also the tributaries that go into the lake. And so, managing not just the lake, but the aspects of the watershed or other approaches that could be taken.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so I would like to go ahead, and since we were going to take a break at 6:30, but since we still have a few minutes, does anyone want to ask a question from the audience? If you can just type it in the chat and I will ask away. There we go. Are there any challenges specific to microscopy that can be helpful to detecting or monitoring HABs?
I think in the past there's been some that have tried to use automated detection of using microscopy. In the past, I think there's been some. There's been some proposals. I don't know if the technology was there.